Well, what is up? Welcome to MyFi. Glad that you're here. Hit subscribe right now, wherever you're at. Just hit the button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, it's in the little plus sign up in the upper right-hand corner. If you're on YouTube, it actually says subscribe, so that's pretty easy. And anywhere, Google, Stitcher, we're everywhere. So just subscribe wherever you're at, and make sure you follow us on social media so you know all the haps. We have good conversations over there on social media and in the reels and whatnot about whatever. So make sure you follow us. And gosh, we had a great episode today with my new friend Elizabeth Moen. She's got a record dropping today. If you're listening to this episode on the day it releases, which is November 11th of 2022, Elizabeth has a killer new album dropping today called Wherever You Aren't. And I got a couple favorite songs. I'm going to talk about all that stuff in a minute. But anyway, let's get into it. Yeah. All right. Gosh, good episode today. My friend Elizabeth Moen was good enough to create some time for us. She's on tour right now with Kevin Morby and is killing it out there and is super busy, but she found some time and I'm really appreciative of that so we could talk about cool music and her experiences and influences and all that sort of stuff. And she has like this crazy wide range of influences. We had a really fun conversation and I think you'll hear all that in her record, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But having Elizabeth on the show today made me think about just female solo artists that I think are fantastic and some of my favorites. There's a lot of female fronted rock bands that I love too, and I kind of wanted to talk about that too. But I will at some point. But I stayed solo artist today. But I will say the Cardigans. Unbelievable band. Everybody knows the song Love Fool, and which is a great song, but Long Gone Before Daylight is one of my favorite records of all time. It's a Cardigans record, and I mean, just great band. Yeah. And even now, like great female fronted bands that are rocking right now, like Starbenders. There's another LA, I think they're from LA band called Starcrawler. Starbenders is from Atlanta and are awesome. And I've seen them live. I saw them open up for the Struts. And Starcrawler is another band. The Star name, I don't know why that's close, but two very different bands, but both amazing. Anyway, all female fronted rock bands I think are great. But I want to talk about some of my favorite female like solo artists. Because that's what Elizabeth is, a great female solo artist, and so I want to talk about it. I'll start with Fiona Apple, who most people are probably familiar with. She came out in the 90s. I was in high school at the time, and just hadn't heard anything like that before. She's an incredible piano player. The Extraordinary Machine album was one of those there was a long wait time in between the previous record, which I think was When the Pawn. It's got like this crazy long title, the record before that. But then that Extraordinary Machine was amazing. Some of the coolest, weirdest piano playing and just incredible songwriting. She was a game changer. And came out around the same time, I guess, I found out about Fiona Apple around the same time as I found out about Bjork, who's also like very, very experimental, influential to me. I remember the video for Army of Me and like all those great early Bjork songs, and she's continued to make great music. She just had a record come out recently, and her band is always filled up with super creative people. I remember a tour that she did where they had Tesla coils firing literal like bolts of electricity, like bolts of little lightning on stage on these Tesla coils, like to pitch. And it was like synth parts in the song. It's crazy. You can Google it, like Bjork Tesla coil or something. It'll come up. It's crazy. Just a groundbreaking artist. Another is Alanis Morissette, who I have a copy of Jagged Little Pill if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify video or whatever. Jagged Little Pill is top to bottom probably one of the best records ever made. Like I think it sits up there. You Ought to Know, Hand in My Pocket, You Learn, Head Over Feet, Ironic, all huge hits on that record. Taylor Hawkins, who just recently passed away from the Foo Fighters, was the drummer in Alanis's band. Flea played bass on some of this record. Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction played guitar on some of this record. I mean, there's just some incredible musicians on here, but Alanis is an incredible performer, songwriter, great artist that I love as well. Somebody more current, this woman, Natalie Bergman, who I think I've talked about her record from last year that came out. She's just phenomenal. Really kind of eclectic indie artist, but at the same time, it's almost like timeless in a sense too. And Elizabeth and I talk about a lot of that in the episode, just an appreciation for that sort of timeless kind of music. And I think Natalie Bergman falls in that category. Her latest record was released on Third Man Records, Jack White's label, and I'm trying to look for it because the name just escaped me, and I don't know why. But I have the vinyl over here somewhere. Anyway, go look it up. Natalie Bergman, awesome. She was in a group called Wild Bell as well, and their stuff is really great. And another new artist or newish artist, Madison Cunningham, great songwriter, guitarist. Just really interesting, really great indie rock folk kind of music. Really love her stuff a lot. And last but not least, Kate Bush, incredible. Again, if you're watching my video, I've got a copy of Hounds of Love here, which is one of her more well-known albums. And recently, she was brought into the spotlight because Running Up the Hill from this album was on Stranger Things, and she got some notoriety that was very due for her. I think Kate Bush was huge. I had a guitar teacher back in the day who was in this band, and they did a bunch of covers, and they covered a bunch of Kate Bush, and that was like the first time I'd ever heard of her. So I was probably like maybe 12, and he taught me a couple of Kate Bush songs on guitar in guitar lessons. And I was like really wanting to learn like hair metal stuff, so I wasn't like that into it at the time. But later I started listening to her music and realized like how smart my guitar teacher was to teach me this stuff, because it was really amazing. And so I'm glad that he did. And she's fantastic. If you've only heard Running Up That Hill from Stranger Things, you should go listen to this whole Hounds of Love album because it's really good. However, my record of the week, record for the episode that I want to talk about is actually Cyndi Lauper. She's So Unusual. As a kid growing up in the MTV era, I remember the video for Girls Just Want to Have Fun and the video for Time After Time, which is also on this album. And I actually won this vinyl copy. It's a MyFi, Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab copy of this. If you're into vinyl, like MyFi's like great sounding presses of stuff. And I actually won this in this little auction thing, and it is awesome. It's a great record. She was a really iconic artist who I'm not sure still in this generation gets the respect that is due, even though I know she's very highly respected. I listened to this record a couple of days ago, just getting ready for the episode, and it just holds up. It's just such a great album. So if you never listened to this Cyndi Lauper stuff, especially this She's So Unusual record, I mean, you probably know Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And Time After Time, but there's some great songs on this record that you really need to go listen to. And I'm excited about the episode today too. Elizabeth Moen's on. We had a great conversation. Like I mentioned, she's on the road and crammed in an interview for MyFi, which I'm highly appreciative of. Elizabeth's a great guitarist. She's done some videos for Fender guitars. She's done some stuff for Premier Guitar and Chicago Music Exchange. She's got great ties. She's in Chicago, based in Chicago, but is from Iowa, Vinton, Iowa. To be exact. She's got a new album, like I mentioned, dropping today called Wherever You Aren't. And it's incredible indie rock, folk, R&B, soul. It's one of those records, like I talked about earlier, that I literally, if you listen to it, you don't know when it was released. It's really timeless, really amazing. Elizabeth is an incredible vocalist, incredible singer. This record was a long time in the making and took a lot of, I think, like courage for her to release. She talks about that a little bit. It's just a fantastic record, and I hope you go listen to it. She's been picked up in a lot of press lately by some huge outlets like NPR and the Chicago Tribune and Pace Magazine and stuff. Headgear was the first single off this record, and it's gotten like well over 1.5 million listens just on Spotify alone already. And so she's really killing it. Her social media is just at Elizabeth Moen Music on Instagram, and Moen Music on Twitter, and her website is just elizabethmoen.com. You can go get the record on vinyl. You can pick up some merch and stuff like that over on her website and check out. She has some like album release shows and some things coming up in the next few weeks to celebrate the release of the Wherever You Aren't album. So go check out her website, and you can get all that stuff and find out all the info and buy an album and all that good stuff and support all this cool music that we love so much. However, let's jump in. I hope you love this conversation that I had with my friend Elizabeth Moen. Elizabeth Moen, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's so nice to meet you.
Likewise. Yeah. Thanks for having me today.
I was reading up. I was doing some research on it. On you and the new record that's coming out actually today, if you're listening to the podcast on the day it releases, which is Friday, November 11th. Elizabeth Moen has a new record coming out that apparently has been a long time in the making. I literally just read an Instagram post that you put up like 2 hours ago, right before we jumped on.
Yeah. It was like a long process of writing those songs, and then like writing a lot of songs and curating the ones I wanted to record. Cause I did a Kickstarter for this record. So I had
nice.
I had the means to like record it the way I wanted to. And that's what that money was for. And then I sat on it because I was like, I had all of these expectations, dreams, whatever for the record. And yeah, I had this fear of like doing it alone. I've been DIY since day one, and like, I really didn't want to do it alone again.
Yeah.
And then I had this fear of failure of like, okay, if I can't convince a team of industry people to hop on with me, that must mean it's not good enough.
That's definitely not the case.
Well, thank you. Well, it took a lot of like, growing up and like emotional growth of like just being able to look at the record and be like, no, this is good. And it doesn't matter who hops on or who doesn't. And like, it doesn't matter how many people listen to it. What matters is that years later, I still think it's a good record. I think, longevity for a career, you do need to like build and like, you do need to find more fans. And that's definitely a goal of mine. But I think what's more important, which is what I said in my post, is like having a community of fans and having a community of musicians, like being in a community, like being community oriented versus career oriented in art, is, I think it's just more satisfying. There's more fulfillment there. And I was so in my head about my own career that I kind of lost perspective on that. So
yeah, that can take a lot of joy out of what we love about making music, for sure.
It does. And it did, for sure. For a little bit there, I was like, if I don't get a label, then I quit. It's like, no, that's stupid.
Well, you did the record right, even without a label, like recording at Fame and in London and all over the place. Like, and I was telling you before we hit red here a minute ago, like the record has so much continuity. And let me say, if you're listening to the podcast right now and you never heard Elizabeth music, you should pause the podcast and go listen to the record. It's called Wherever You Aren't. Where's My Bike and Emotionally Available are my two tracks on that. I was lucky enough, blessed, honored, get the record a little early from your publicist so I could listen to it. And it's amazing. Indie rock, soul, R&B, like it's got these vibes. It's timeless in the way that it was tracked to me. So if you're listening to the podcast, pause it, go listen to the record, then come back and finish the episode and you'll appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? So it's awesome. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All of these, places that we got to record, it's through, like, it's just through someone knows someone. And I think, looking back at that, it's like, it's not in like, just putting yourself out there and like meeting people and, really connecting with people, letting go of the networky kind of thing.
Yeah.
You end up meeting people who you want to help and they want to help you. And like, so getting to record at Fame, it was through a friend of a friend. Meeting my co-producer, Scott, who also mixed it and made it all sound cohesive. I met him through my friend / bandmate Gemma. She introduced me to him and he records, he has a studio within that studio, Hyde Street in San Francisco. And then, my Irish friends who I recorded with in Dublin, like we knew someone who worked at Hellfire Studio. So it's all, and then I, had my friends in Iowa as well, where we recorded, but like, it's, I think if you have a really good mixing engineer, you can do a lot of things in different places. Well, if you have a good, like, if the engineer is like in the studio doing their job, it's going to make it easier for the mixing engineer to do their job, which is to make it all sound cohesive. So shout out to engineers, because good ones make it all really, that's what makes it sound good.
That's right.
And then a good mastering. Yeah, mastering engineer too.
For real.
Yeah.
I heard you mentioned Iowa. I read you grew up there. Did you grow up around like a musical community? Were your parents musical, or like friends, or like what was that like? What was your first musical memory as a kid?
Musical memory, I remember loving to watch country music videos when I was little. Okay. It's still a thing I love to.
Any artists come to mind? Like who?
George Strait.
Yes.
I like Shania Twain. I will never forget Any Man of Mine, where she's just like in the field and all that denim, like clapping around. Like she's like clapping to the like beat and stuff. Oh my God. Dixie Chicks.
Nice.
Earl Had to Die. Or sorry, the Chicks. Earl Had to Die. I remember that one, just thinking that was so cool. But yeah, I mean, my small town, I didn't really have a music community. I enjoyed doing like show choir and choir musicals in high school.
So was that your background, like theater, like stuff like that?
I guess kind of. I enjoyed doing it. I was definitely like an annoying theater kid. That was definitely my personality. But I never really had the space or opportunity to connect with people in this kind of musical way. So anytime I was playing guitar, it was mostly just for myself in my room. My parents would always encourage me to play outside of my room, but I was like embarrassed for anyone to hear me. So I was like, no, you can listen to my Pink Floyd cover, but you have to sit outside of my room. You can't watch me do it.
How old were you when you started playing?
Middle school.
Nice.
Middle school. Yeah.
So you saw the country videos, but is that what got you into guitar and like songwriting and stuff?
I loved country. I loved all genres. I was really lucky to be like, my grandparents like different kinds of music. My parents love all kinds of music. So I was always like, I got to hear a lot of different kind of genres. And my grandpa noticed that most of the music I would, repeat. Like I'd be like, can we listen to that song again? It was very guitar forward. So he gifted me a guitar for Christmas one year, and that's how I got into guitar and like.
Do you remember what those songs were?
Oh God, I mean, with my grandpa Dan, we loved listening to like old folk music. So like Leonard Cohen, Peter Paul and Mary, Bob Dylan, and then I always loved like Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix. When I first heard Jimi Hendrix, I was like, this is it. Like, I was obsessed. My first like CD I got was a first CD I had was Sam Cooke, Best Hits.
Oh, nice.
And the first CD that I earned by doing like a bunch of chores was Hilary Duff, Metamorphosis. But then the first CD I was gifted from my brother, really from my mom, from like they went to Target together or whatever, was Jimi Hendrix. And that CD probably can't be played anymore because I played it so much as like a middle schooler in my little headphones.
You remember what record it was?
It was like Voodoo Child like collection. It was like 2 different CDs.
Oh, nice.
It was a lot of songs, but Voodoo Child on that was like, when I first heard that, I was like, this is it. This is music.
Yeah.
And every year since hearing that, my bucket list is to learn that song on guitar, and every year I have put it off. It's embarrassing. It's been like over a decade of me procrastinating learning my
2023 is the year,
song.
Elizabeth. 2023 is the year.
It has to be. It's embarrassing. Like,
what you need to do is release a cover of it. Put the pressure on to release a cover, Elizabeth Moen cover of Voodoo Child.
Oh God, yeah, that was like 1,000 takes in the studio.
You never know. You make it your own deal. You know.
It'll be like the beginner's version of that song. That song is hard.
Yeah. Oh, totally hard. I grew up. I actually heard the Stevie Ray Vaughn version before I heard the Hendrix version of Voodoo Child, and the same with Little Wing, because my dad was way more into Stevie Ray, and then I went back and heard all the Hendrix stuff. But it's interesting you say a minute ago that the first CD you got was Sam Cooke, because I hear that influence in this record totally. Do you feel that? Do you get that?
Yeah, I'm definitely very, very inspired by Sam Cooke. Just how he sings, his songwriting. He was so like, he just really cut to the chase. I think he didn't like one of my favorite songs as a kid was his song called Cupid, where it's like, it's simple but good. Like no time is wasted. It's just like a classic R&B like pop song. And you can't go wrong. I think any musician, like any white musician in America, if you were to say that you are not inevitably heavily inspired by Black music, you were lying to yourself and to others in a very embarrassing way.
Yeah. Or you don't realize that the artists who inspired you, they were inspired by Black musicians at some point. Yeah,
like Stevie Ray.
Yeah, or the Stones.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, Sam Cooke, Otis Redding was a huge one. You know, like through like getting into Sam Cooke, you know, my parents then were like, oh, well, if you like Sam Cooke, you would probably like Otis Redding. And they were absolutely right. Also through like, you know, teenage YouTube, just like search holes, you know, like you Google one song and you end up somewhere. Like I remember when I was 16, I was YouTubing a lot of like live sessions of Bob Dylan, and that eventually took me to Joni Mitchell. And that's how I found Joni Mitchell in Both Sides Now. And that song definitely like changed my life.
Yeah.
When I first heard it. I remember that was like the first time I heard lyrics and was like, I'm changed. I'm changed by lyrics.
That's huge.
Yeah. Thank you, YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
Had you already been writing music when you had kind of that encounter, so you like appreciated the lyrical thing, or was that something that like inspired you towards things later when you started writing?
I didn't write until my last year of college. I was always very like, after, especially like once I was like 16, you know, I heard that song, then I was very like in tune with lyrics. I think my, love for music, it was, just melody and like, just like the vibe. And then the older I got, the more I was like, but what does it mean?
Yeah.
And then I was like, now I could never write. Like, I wrote a lot of like little guitar things. I loved writing melodies and like having fun on GarageBand and stuff, like on my own, but I never wrote lyrics. And then I finally let go of that. So it's like, wait, all of my favorite songs are super fucking cheesy. Why can't I be cheesy?
Yeah.
And I just let go of it. And here we are. So
totally. Were you in a band like in high school ever with friends or anything? You just kind of wrote by yourself?
Yeah, I never got to experience jamming. Actually, no. I was never in a band. I never, especially in my small town, I never got that connection. But when I was a foreign exchange student in France, my sophomore year of high school, that's kind of actually how I made my friends. Was there was like a group of kids. They were like the naughty kids too. They would like be smoking weed like outside the high school, and I was a goody two shoe. Like I did not do anything. Like I was like, whoa, and they always made fun of me for it. But they were playing guitar, and then they kind of accepted me and like brought me into their friend group, and then I played guitar for them and they realized I play guitar. And then I felt comfortable around them to like sing and play guitar. And that was the first time I ever got to like connect with other people. And they were all really good guitarists. They would all just get so stoned and just like shred. And then I would just like play chords and be like, yes. But then I had to go back to my small town and then was isolated again, at least musically. And then by the end of college, I had like found some musicians in my college town who like I got to jam with. Then they became my bandmates and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, where'd you go to college?
University of Iowa. Go Hawks.
Oh, no. Nice. All right. Yeah. I'm a college football guy, so I watch, I keep up.
You know.
One of my best friends is from Iowa, and he went to a little school up there. And so, like, you're the second person. Oh gosh, I can't even remember. Honestly, I can't even remember. It's like a little. It was a small. I think it was a small like Christian school, like south somewhere. I can't remember. He's going to kill me. He's going to listen to this. He's going to kill me. But you're the second person I know from Iowa now, so I know two people from Iowa now. I'm excited about that.
Well, congrats.
Thanks.
There you go.
Thanks. Do you keep up with some of those original bandmates, or are they still playing music with you?
No, they were the first people I got to really like jam with. They played my first couple shows with me. And then after those first couple shows, I was like, all right, this isn't a hobby. I want to take this seriously.
Yeah.
And those friends / bandmates, they had their own bands or other priorities. So then I was like, okay, I think I might need to find people who just have more time.
Yeah.
And then I found other people in the like Iowa City scene to like have hop on shows, and they had more availability. And I've had so many different like friends be bandmates, whether in Iowa, Ireland, the West Coast, New York, now Chicago. And when you're like a solo artist hiring people, when you're at the level I'm at, and at the level I was, you take people when you can, but you have to realize that like they're their own people. They have their own schedules, their own lives. So it's a privilege to get their time when you can take it. And luckily I play folk rock, so my songs aren't hard to learn. So there are a lot of people out there who hop on for shows when they can.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you were younger, do you remember the first show you ever saw, like the first live concert you ever saw?
Yes, I saw Green Day, the U.S. Cellular Center in Cedar Rapids.
Whoa. That's a good first show.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was in fourth grade. Was it fourth grade or fifth grade? I was in one of those grades. I was very young, and it was so sick. My Chemical Romance opened.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the lead singer mooned the audience, and that was the first time I had like seen someone else's butt. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's a great first show story.
Yeah, well, hey, great. I'm glad you liked it.
What's the most like impactful show you remember seeing? Like you went and saw an artist and were like, whoa, this is amazing.
Oh God. I remember seeing Shovels and Rope and being like really just like in like I was in college and I saw them and I was like, what the hell? Okay. The summer before I started writing music, I went to Bonnaroo with some friends, and nice. There were a few sets there that like blew my mind so hard it made me want to write music.
That's good.
And that was Brandi Carlisle, Courtney Barnett, Hozier, Alabama Shakes, and then they like did like a duo set with My Morning Jacket.
Oh my god!
That was the first time I like. Hopefully kids aren't listening. First and last time, actually. First and sincerely last time I ever did like drugs. I was like, wow, this is so cool.
my Morning Jacket, that'll do it to you.
Yeah. I also, Mac DeMarco. That didn't inspire me enough to write music, but that was definitely like a moment where I was like, whoa, this is too much. Hence first and last time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Courtney Barnett live, Brandi Carlisle, Hozier. That whole year, that Bonnaroo, it was just so good. 2016? 2015?
Yeah.
I think 2016. And then Shaky Graves played on a small stage, which is funny now that he was on a small stage, but
yeah, that's crazy.
He solo, just him. I was like, this is cool. So that's my long answer to your question.
That's awesome. I'm always writing down all the artists that we talk about on the episode. I always put those in the show notes for people to go back, because one of our hopes is that people listen to episodes and they find out, people who've influenced you and they love your music, so they want to go listen to these people who've, been impactful in your career as well, and discover new artists, stuff like that. I've heard the name Shovels and Rope one time, and I've never heard anything. So that's somebody I'm going to go dive into.
They're an amazing live show. Even they're one of those live shows where it's like, even if Americana isn't your thing, just go to the show. You'll be impressed. That's how I feel about the band I'm a part of right now. Like the live performance of Kevin Morby's stuff this year. It's like, even if he isn't your vibe, go to the show because it's insanely good. Like, he's my vibe. Obviously, I'm in the band. I wouldn't be in the band if he wasn't my vibe. But it's just an impressive show. It's impressive musicianship and energy, and Shovels and Rope is definitely a great live show. Enough to where I don't know what I said that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about Americana. And even I don't even know honestly, I don't even know what I would classify your new record as, because it's the record, and I feel like this about Americana music too, the same thing I feel about Wherever You Aren't. It feels older than you are, meaning
I'm so young. Ageless.
Meaning in a timeless way, in a really good way. That, to me, that's the mark of great songwriting, when it's so believable and feels really honest and timeless at the same time, which is what I love about Americana, alt rock, alt country, stuff like that. David Ramirez was on an episode not too long ago, and we talked about something similar. And there's something about that genre that I don't even care if I've heard of the people before. If they're great songwriters and storytellers and players, I'm in, That's super refreshing to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it like that sentiment, I feel the same way of like, it does, like, if you haven't heard of them, it doesn't, like, that means nothing of how good the music is. I think a good song speaks for itself. And I didn't believe that about my own music when I was so obsessed with like finding a team or whatever. And then I sat on this record, and then I finally like let go of that. And this isn't like, I don't know, I hope it doesn't come off as like self-absorbed or like douchey or whatever, but I have listened to this record years later, and I'm like, you know what? These are good songs. These are songs I still am proud of. These are songs that like, they're actually hitting me in a new way. Like Lucy Dacus, she has this amazing line in one of her songs. It's like, years from now, I hope these songs feel like covers dedicated to new lovers. Where, that resonates so hard. Where it's like, you know, you hope that you write a song that is so good that like, even years later, you're proud of, and it can still make you feel a certain way about a new experience. And this record has definitely done that for me. Like, I know that even when I'm old, you know, hopefully, like, fingers crossed, I'm like 90 or whatever. I'm like, you know, the fucking record still slaps.
You should feel. How long did you sit on the record? Can I ask that?
A few years.
I mean, it feels, I said this a minute ago, but it feels timeless in a really cool way. Like if you'd have released it, you know, 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, it would have felt great. Releasing it now, great. Like, so you say you want to feel like the record matters when you're 90. I think you'll feel that way, at least as a fan and just somebody listening who obviously was not involved at all. I feel like I could listen to this record 15 years from now and I couldn't tell you when it came out. You know what I'm saying? Thank
you. Yeah, like, thank you.
Like
that was the goal.
Yeah, it does. It feels it does. I'm not blowing smoke. Like it feels like I couldn't tell you when the record came out. I also like because I just got familiar with your music and stuff. I was like, man, how old is this girl? Like I literally like I couldn't. It was such a mystery. Like just listening before I looked you up on Instagram or anything like that. And I love that part. I have never fallen in love with an artist that I found out about through marketing. I've always fell in love with artists that I was told about by people or that I heard or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think most people are that way. I think we want to organically be like interested in something. Whether like, you know, it's almost like when you're like someone is trying to force you to like going on a date with someone, you're probably like a you know, friend's trying to set you up with someone, you're probably like a tinge like more disinterested than maybe you would have been because it's like it feels forced.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm the same way. I think everyone is like when you just hear a song naturally or someone who you care about or respect is like, yo, I think you'd like this song.
Totally.
You're probably going to like it way more than like, you know, these ads on Facebook just like pushing this thing that you've never heard of because you're annoyed. Everyone's annoyed by ads.
Totally.
So when the only way you can be like forced to hear something is through like these ads, you're probably like, fuck this.
Yeah.
At least I am.
Yeah, no, totally. And the friends who would share stuff with you, who you respect their musical opinions, they've already filtered it through what they know you like and respect, and they respect it. And so by the time you get that music shared with you, it's been through like 8 filters. And so like I have friends that like if they send me something, I'm listening to it. You know, I trust their opinion and stuff. You know,
same. Yeah.
Who are you listening to now? Like, are there new artists coming out that you're like, oh, I'm on this record or I'm on that record? That's like something that's come out in the last year or two.
So much. There's like an insane amount of good music coming out this fall. It's bonkers, especially the Chicago scene.
Oh yeah.
That I'm not just saying this to like promote my record release show, but like the opening band, I very specifically asked, and they're called Free Range.
Okay.
And it's just amazing, soft folk music. It's sparse, but powerful. It's so good.
Yeah.
Sophia, the main person in that band, they're pretty young, but this music, it's like, how did you write this? You're so young. Why does this sound the way it does? You know, in a good way, in a timeless way. We're like, I'll probably listen to their record 10 years from now and it's still going to hit, you know? It's the kind of music that I know that when I have kids, I'll put on free range music and my kids will be like, wow, our mom's like so cool. She listens to cool music.
I hope my kids say that about me.
Hey, I bet they do. I don't know your kids at all.
I think they do. I think that they do. I hope that they do.
I hope they do, because you listen to my music, they better think it's... I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah. I actually do need to send this to my daughter. She would really love it. She loves all kinds of stuff. Tell me this. Who right now, if you could go on the road with any artist who's out and just doing it, who would you want to go out with on tour?
So many people. I want to open for so many people. That's, I mean, I should have a quicker answer, but it's like I'm getting flooded with like bands I want to open for. Obviously, like Wilco. This is Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Chicago dream. Any Chicago musician in the last 20 years, 30 years, you want to open for Wilco. That's your dream.
They are the band I've seen the most live.
Hell yeah. I've actually,
6 times.
I haven't gotten to see them live yet.
Oh my gosh. I've seen them 6 times.
I've listened to their music enough.
Unbelievable.
I'm sure. I've listened to their music enough. Their albums were like, when I do inevitably go to a show, I'll be like, oh, I know all these songs. But that's just like a cliche. Any Chicago kid would say, any Midwest kid would say that. Really, any indie musician would say that. That's the most, that's the easiest answer. I mean, my heroes to open for Brandi Carlisle or Courtney Barnett, Hozier, these people who hit me so hard it made me want to do it too.
Yeah.
I guess those people.
Yeah. Elizabeth Moen opening for Brandi Carlisle at the Ryman. That's what we need. I have no clue how to make. She liked one of my tweets once, but then I went to she was liking a bunch of fans' tweets. Like if her name was in the tweet, she was like being cool and liking it. So for a second, I was like, "Oh my gosh, she liked my tweet!" But then I realized it was it wasn't special, and I was like, "Damn it!" Well, you never know. You never know. This is the record. It's going to happen.
Who's to say? And also, if it doesn't happen, I gotta be okay with that too.
Yeah. Well, you made a great record.
That's the real growth, is just letting go. Being like, if this is the record that does it, cool. If this is the record that doesn't do it, cool. At least I let go of my fear of failure and did it,
Yeah, for real.
Because I would always, I think when you don't do it and you end up resenting yourself, that's the worst. I hope anyone who's listening to this, if there's a certain thing, as long as it's not harming yourself or others, obviously, but if there's a thing that you are wanting to do, but you're afraid to do it, just do it. And if you fail, you fail. But not trying and regretting it and resenting yourself feels way worse than not trying. I promise. Yeah. I promise. Because I've just spent the last few years doing that, and it does not feel good. So. Yeah.
Tell us about the show. You got a release show this weekend?
In a few weekends. I'm still in the Morby band this weekend.
Oh, that's right. You still got a few shows on this tour.
Yep. So this weekend I am singing my little ass off for This Is a Photograph tour. And then I have a release show in Iowa City, November 26th. It's like Thanksgiving weekend. So like, hopefully like, you know, local people, old friends will be back in town. We'll come to that. And then 2 release shows in Chicago, December 9th at Empty Bottle and December 16th at Shuba's and Audio Tree. This cool, like recording, like music, company in town is going to like film it. So it'll be like a audio and like visual filmed live set, which I've never had done before. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah. I was going to ask if anything was going to be online, like Instagram Live or Facebook Live or YouTube or anything.
I think that December 16th show, I'm not sure if Audio Tree is going to live stream it, but I know they're definitely going to put it out. Like it's going to be under their staged, thing. So maybe it'll be like in January they release it and it's like, hey, here's the live show. Like they'll edit it, make it look nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to ask everybody this question to kind of wrap up on. You get 3 records. Okay. Your Desert Island 3 favorite albums of all time.
Yep. All Things Must Pass, George Harrison.
Excellent.
Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, nice.
That or Nebraska.
Nebraska's great.
I feel like Nebraska would like just actually be a really bad idea on a deserted island. I think it would really...
You'd be really sad.
I think it would really fuck me up. So Born in the USA to keep things fun. Glee. And then the third, it's hard to pick a third one. Let me pull, just give me 1 second. But those 2 for sure, easy peasy.
Those are good selections.
And then, you know what? I love my friend Liam, but before we ever became friends, I was actually just a fan. His album Due North, I would put on there. That song, or that record was my top record of 2021. And
oh, wow.
It's
What's his name?
Liam Kazar, Chicago guy. He's doing big things. He's gonna blow up. He's one of those where like just give it time and he'll do it. He's already doing it. He's doing he's also in this Kevin Morby band for the year and he's playing bass. But his record Due North is just, it's fun, but there's also a lot of songs that help you just feel your feels, a lot of just like soothing songs, great songwriting, great playing. I know that I would want that on a deserted island because I would be like, oh, at least I had a friend once.
Yeah.
I'm alone, but I know I had a friend.
I like that you have backstory to your deserted island records.
Yeah, I have backstory for these hypothetical situations.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for being on. You guys need to go check out Elizabeth's music, just at Elizabeth Moen on Instagram and Facebook, and then Emo and Music on Twitter. And I'll put all this in the show notes and all the artists that we talked about, and I'll link up Elizabeth's website as well. You can get the record on vinyl and stuff there and get merch and all that, and all the shows and everything that she's doing is listed on her website. So please go check it out. I'm not kidding. It's a fantastic, timeless, great indie rock, folk, R&B sort of vibe. There's just vibe all over the record. So please go check it out. Elizabeth, thanks for being on MyFi. We appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of the tour out there with Kevin Morby.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for listening to the record and taking time to talk about it. It's always bananas to me. It's great. Thank you so much.
You got it. Have a great one, Elizabeth. And I hope you enjoyed that conversation. That was super fun. She's a funny person and incredibly talented, and this record is just great. So you should go listen to it. Hope you enjoyed the conversation there between Elizabeth and I. Make sure to go check out her website, elizabethmoen.com, and all her socials at Elizabeth Moen Music on Instagram and Facebook, and Moen Music on Twitter. Go follow so you can keep up and find out, especially if you're in like the Midwest up there and you want to try to make one of the release shows there around the Chicago area and Iowa and stuff. Go check all that out and go get a record and stream it and listen to it. I think you're going to love it. I sure did. Listen through the record a handful of times already, and it's just fantastic. So hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you're following MyFi. We got some great episodes coming up over the next few weeks. Super excited about some of the folks that I'm going to get to have conversations with about the music that has influenced and inspired them in their lives and career, which is what we're all about here at MyFi. If you haven't been over to myfipodcast.com, go check that out. You can listen to old episodes. Did some freshening up on the website over there recently, so go check it out. And if you're listening on like Apple Podcasts or whatever, you've never gone and watched the YouTube version of the show, go check it out on YouTube. It's super fun to watch along and all that sort of stuff. And if you're listening on YouTube, you can go vice versa. Check it out on Apple Podcasts when you're cruising down the road or however you consume your podcast type media stuff. But we're glad that you were with us today. We hope that you have a great one. Until next time.